Growing up in this modern world makes it almost impossible to not pick up some bad habits as a young man. And what's scary about this is that most men don't even notice these bad habits until it's too late. They are already at the mercy of their addictions, if you can call it that, or whatever. And if you are one of these people, it can set you at a massive disadvantage because of how much they can mentally destroy you. So by the end of this video, I want to help you to firstly recognize these bad habits and secondly put a stop to them. So let's get started. Number one is disobeying your own mindset, and this is something that I talked about in my previous video. And putting it simply, disobeying your own mindset is kind of the best way I could describe it, with 3 words. But essentially, when you tell yourself that you're going to do something, right, and then you proceed to not do it, and when you tell yourself that you're not going to do something and then you proceed to go and do that, essentially when you do the opposite of what you've told yourself you're going to do, this is kind of like disobeying your own mindset. And when you do this, and when you do it consistently and you do it every single day, this starts to lower your self-perception. And if you have a low self-perception, you're going to be low in confidence. You're not going to be able to stay disciplined. You're not going to believe in yourself. And of course, this is completely affecting your mental fortitude, and it's going to have an impact on everything that you do in your daily life. So the reason why you may not have started that business plan yet, the reason why you may not have started going to, your boxing lessons yet, is because of the fact that you don't believe in yourself. And the reason you don't believe in yourself is because you consistently don't abide by what you are setting for yourself in terms of the rules, right? You're setting yourself rules. You're telling yourself you're going to wake up at that time and you don't wake up at that time. You tell yourself you're not going to eat all this shit and you end up eating all of this shit, right? So, this is all about having respect for yourself. And when you consistently do this, it leads you down a bad spiraled path. Now, if staying disciplined is something that you really struggle with, I've actually created a program that I'd like to talk to you about a little bit more at the end of this video. Not now, because right now I want to talk to you about the 3 other habits that are mentally destroying you. But if you want to stick around to the end of the video, I would really suggest that you do that because it's going to help you massively. But yeah, moving on to habit number 2. And habit number 2 is watching the news. And I've spoken about this on my channel before as well. But some people just really don't, I think, see the issue with watching the news. But let me just ask you a question. How often do you watch the news and then come around afterwards thinking, holy shit, man, I'm so glad I watched the news. I feel great now. It doesn't happen, does it? Because everything on the news is negative. And what's funny is that it's all about circumstances that you personally cannot control. So in a way, it's kind of like, why would you put yourself in that situation where you're watching something and finding information about something that doesn't necessarily affect you, but yet it will affect your emotional stance and it's going to make you feel negative? It doesn't really make sense, does it? And I feel like this is all part of the, I don't want to get too woo-woo, and I really don't want to, but it does kind of make sense. The people at the top, they want people at the bottom, us, to feel a certain way. They want us to feel negative. They want us to feel scared, because when we feel scared, that's when we go for a secure life. We try to always take the safe option. We don't want to take risks. And the reason they don't want us to take risks is because I believe that when you take risks, that is when you get to enjoy the real fruits of life. That's where all the best things are, when you take risks. They don't want you doing that. They want you to follow the book exactly as they've let it out. They want you to get a mortgage. They want you to loan a car. They want you to have this secure job where, you're working as a teacher or a policeman or, a firefighter or part of the army or whatever it may be. They want you to have a salary, and they don't want the salary to increase by very much, and they want to cap you. Right, they don't want you to be free. They don't want to give you freedom. And I've really gone on there, but I do believe that the news is an absolutely foundational point for all of this. So stay away from it. You don't need it. It's just putting your mind into a negative space, and your brain is like a sponge, right? And it absorbs all of the information. So you really want to be making sure that the information that you're consuming is positive. So as frequently as possible, you want to be consuming positive information, not negative information, because all the news talks about is wars and terrible world events that have happened recently. And the thing is, for most of the part, we don't actually know how much of it is true. So just be mindful of that, man. You don't need it. It's information you do not need. Now for number 3, excuse me 1 second, buddy, because I'm absolutely sweating like a twat. Number 3 is to stop socializing with your loser friends. And I didn't know how else to word that, but I feel like it just kind of gives you everything you need to know about what I'm trying to say here. At the end of the day, there is nothing that holds you back more than not hanging out with people that are doing what you want to do, that have what you want to have. You want to be hanging around with people that have a positive influence on you. And in the same light, you don't want to be hanging around with people that have a negative influence on you. And the thing is, it's going to be difficult for you to kind of notice and, I guess, kind of realize whether your friends are having a positive influence on you or not, right? Because when you're in it, it's hard to see. But all I can say is from my point of view and from my experiences in life, I spent, I'd say my whole teenage years of life not fully believing in myself and not truly doing what I wanted to do with my life. And that was because the guys that I hang around with, and this is absolutely no shade on them, but the guys that I was hanging around with were more content doing, I guess, the things that I personally found mundane. And I wanted to explore and I wanted to do this, that, and whatever. And I just personally wasn't fulfilled with living, an average life or whatever you want to call it. I wasn't fulfilled with that. But I continued living in that way because that's what my friends did and that's what my family did. The people around me were doing these kind of things. And all right, maybe I was a bit harsh in the fact that I've called them loser friends, but I'm just trying to grab your attention. That's me being completely honest. I want you to watch the video. I want you to understand exactly what I'm trying to get at here, right? You have to be hanging out with the right kind of people. And you have to be honest with yourself. It's the only way. And now for number 4, which kind of comes into play with number 3, is to actually stop seeking validation, right? And this is another thing that I spent so much of my life doing. I would constantly seek validation from my friends. And of course, everything that I gave to them, they would almost throw back in my face because, I was maybe too ambitious, you could argue. I don't know if that's really a thing. Can you be too ambitious? I don't know. But I've always been a very ambitious person. And every time I'd throw out ideas, I'd almost get laughed at and mocked, for having these ideas because they were in a different kind of realm. I was living in a fantasy land, and this made me feel really down because I based a lot of my happiness on what other people thought about me. But what I very recently realized is that the funny thing is, people don't really give a fuck what you do. Fuck other people. You have to really listen to your own intuition. What is it that you really want to do, right? It doesn't matter what your parents want you to do. It doesn't matter what your family want you to do. Doesn't matter what your grandparents want you to do or what your friends are doing. It's all about what you want to do. And how do you know what you want to do? You have to listen to your intuition. It's your gut feeling. What does it really tell you? Actually hone in on it. If you're somebody that often feels anxiety, which I know is really common and many people don't talk about it, but I used to feel really anxious all the time when I used to work in a supermarket, and I worked there for 3 years, and I'd feel so anxious every single day because every day I was working on the shop floor, all I was thinking about was working on my own businesses. And the fact that I wasn't working on my own businesses made me feel a certain way. It made me feel anxious because I wasn't doing what I was almost destined to do. And I really believe in that. It might sound far-fetched to you, I don't know. But the whole point of this is just to not seek validation. For years and years, my intuition told me to start a YouTube channel. It told me to start boxing. It told me to move to Thailand, right? Which is where I am right now. And all of these things have been just the best things that have ever happened in my life. Of course, my intuition isn't always right, you could argue, because it has led me down harder paths per se. But then that doesn't necessarily mean my intuition was wrong, because I learned a great deal from those things. I learned a great deal from those hard times, which almost works in my favor, doesn't it? So in a way, you could always say that your intuition is always right, even if it doesn't seem it at the time. Now, if you're still a little bit confused, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what I was talking about earlier on in this video with regards to the program that I was talking about. And I'm really excited about this because I know how much this can help you, right? If you're somebody that struggles with confidence and you want to, I would almost say 10x your confidence in a short space of time, this program has been designed to do that for you, and it's going to do it for you in a number of different ways. And these main two ways are by focusing on your mental fortitude and also your physical appearance. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because you can actually check out all of the information for the program in the link in the comments below. But essentially, one of my clients was literally able to go from being somebody who was very, very unconfident, you know, not able to socialize, not able to really talk to other people, wasn't very comfortable in his own skin. This is my client called Alex, by the way. And since he became a part of my program, he was literally within, I think it was about 90 days or something like that. Everyone's a little bit different, right? But within about 90 days to, let's say, 120 days, so 3 to 4 months, he just transformed his body. You know, he'd gained about 5 kilograms of lean muscle. He was able to feel so much more confident in his skin because of this, and he was able to actually start talking to people and socializing with people and, you know, having relationships with girls and actually meeting girls in person and stuff like that, all because of the program that he'd kind of invested in with myself. Now, as I've just mentioned, this is an investment. You know, it's not free, but as you know, I post loads of videos on YouTube and they will always be free, and I put in as much information in these videos as I physically can. But if you are somebody that just wants, you know, that little bit of extra one-to-one support, or if you are somebody that wants that help just a little bit quicker, you want to reach your goal a little bit quicker and you're just fed up, then I'd really suggest you check out the program. Honestly, man, I don't want to push you. This is entirely your choice, and I want the choice to be yours. But as I said, I'm really excited about this because I know full well how much it's helped my client, Alex. So yeah, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Now, as always, my friend, believe you can, and you're more than halfway there.